Welcome in the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner. You can find us on, Apple Podcasts, Betting the Pitch. You can find us on Spotify, Betting the Pitch. You can find us on YouTube at the real underscore G Warner and on Instagram at the real underscore G Warner. And that's where the shorts and the reels summarizing the best bet for the Thursday, March 12th card will be. It's late night with the real underscore G Warner as always, especially in a really, really convoluted all bunched together college basketball championship week, but we are burning the midnight oil. It's 12:23 here in Dallas, Texas, and we're going to find some winners on this Europa League card. So on tonight's episode, we're going to go through the entire slate on Thursday, the 12th of March. We went 4-0 on last match day's bets. So we're going to try to keep that momentum going. Europa League, a little bit off the beaten path, certainly not all big name clubs, but that's where a lot of times money can be made, and I think we've had a really great track record in this competition. So, but without further ado, let's get into this. Let's start. Start by getting this all going and minimizing the windows that I need so I can see what I'm going to. And we'll start in the first matchup of the day. So we do have a bunch at 12:45 Eastern time. Excuse me, Central Time, 1:45 Eastern on this Thursday card as time changes have not gone through in Europe just yet. We'll start with Bologna and Roma, a big battle of Serie A clubs, which really is not ideal for me. Certainly would rather have it another way because I follow Serie A pretty closely. Would like to do really anything, but I wish there was a rule, but they're not listening to me, so I guess that doesn't really matter. But we'll start with Bologna. They're a quarter goal underdog right now at home. Current juice is all the way on the Bologna side. We've got plus 108 on the Roma side right now, so we could see this falling towards the pick'em. Would expect that, but Roma certainly has gotten a lot of respect. You can even see a scarf over my shoulder if I move it a little bit. And that was from a Roma match a couple seasons ago in Europa League, actually, which has kind of been their competition. They haven't been great at it. I think they've won it, but ultimately have not been that dominant. As I think you can probably describe the Roma program or just the club in general. Total in this one is 2. It's very juicy the over here, so we've got a lot of expensive juice right now on home underdog and over. Those things don't really correlate. I got to say I'm more interested in the Bologna side than anything. Currently, I think Roma are, and I'll say this again at the risk of sounding like a broken record, but in two-legged competitions, you basically play the first leg at one venue, second at the next venue, and then you take the combined score aggregated. And if you're tied, you go to extra time. Doesn't matter if you score more goals away or at home. Each goal is equally valuable, and so you go in there and do that. With all that said, I think there's plenty of conservatism, pragmatism that we'll see in first legs. I think that certainly points toward under in this matchup, which is very interesting to me. And then I think we see that also correlates to the home underdog, who I think Bologna, they've really were having a great season. They've been great, overachieving for years and years and years, or the last few seasons. But then kind of ran into a lot of extra fixtures that they weren't really necessarily built for or used to, and that's been problematic. But they're here in the Europa League. They got through the first round of playoffs. They did not get a bye here as Roma. That's why the Roma is the home team in the second leg. But that also brings up that I need to discuss two advanced numbers. Currently, Bologna plus 195. So $100 will win you 195 at BetOnline. Currently, they are, I guess, close to 2-1, but not there yet. In terms of the Roma side, they are minus 260. So big favorite relatively. I think that's something that you certainly would expect away from home. But at this point, it does, I think, give me some value potentially if you like Bologna to get a good victory in the first leg. That certainly puts them in a great position to back them not only just in this first leg, but also to advance. I'm very concerned about second legs on the road because if you do force extra time and go to extra time, it's really tough to get through that. And it's also very tough to get through a penalty shootout if we get there. So I think that's probably enough for that first matchup. We'll move to the next on the list as Bologna and under my biggest interest in that first one. So we'll start now with Panathinaikos. They are a Greek club from Athens. They are hosting Real Betis of Spanish La Liga. Panathinaikos coming through against Victoria Plzeňa in the last round, and honestly was part of our 4-0 on that Thursday. We did hit Panathinaikos, a quarter goal underdog, and also the under. They got through in penalties on the road, which is hard to do, but was done. Currently, Panathinaikos are a quarter goal underdog right now. All the juice on Real Betis potentially pointing towards us moving to a half a goal home underdog, which would be very interesting to me. Real Betis are very talented, play in Spain, of course, but they do rotate a fair amount. They play different lineups, or at least try to balance their pursuits in La Liga as they do in Europa League as well. And they've done very well with it. Manuel Pellegrini has been awesome, brilliant manager, Abuelo as they call him locally in Sevilla. But at this point, to me, Panathinaikos, they are a big spender for a Greek side. They spend a lot. Brought in Alban Lafont from French Liga, was supposed to be the French national team goalkeeper, but things didn't really work out for him a while ago. But with all that said, Panathinaikos are of interest to me. I love them as a home underdog, as I do almost all home underdogs in all sports. But at this point, to me, I think there's plenty of value on them because I think a general rule about Europa League and really Champions League especially, but especially even more so in Europa League, is that people like to bet the big leagues because they just assume big budgets. And that means they're better than everybody. I don't know that's necessarily the case. And we see some kind of under the radar teams like Olympiacos making it to the final last year. So Panathinaikos in that same Greek Super League as Olympiacos. I think they're a live dog. I'm less interested in the plus 296 to advance versus the minus 420 on Real Betis. I think that's a lot about second leg being at home, and that's a concern for me to say the least. We'll move next to Lille hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Lille, a quarter goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Total is two and a quarter, 2 cents more juice to the over. So no real indicator about where the total is going to go. Certainly looks like we're heading towards pick 'em on Lille as opposed to getting towards a half of a goal underdog. But Lille have had a really tough year. They have spoken a lot about sacking their manager. It has not happened as far as I've seen. And Lille have a good one. Bruno Genesio has been a great leader, I think, steward of the club. Lille is a selling club. They go through managers very quickly, unfortunately, because they go through players like that same speed. Aston Villa kind of, I mean, you could say they're in the second city in England, which is a lot of times said whenever a game is at Villa Park. Aston Villa has got a great manager. They've certainly spent some money and brought in really over the last few seasons with Steven Gerrard there. Then things didn't work out, bringing in Unai Emery, and things have gone really, really well for him. But I think at this point, there's some value fading Aston Villa, who've gotten no respect in English Premier League marketplace for what feels like a month or even longer than that now. It's definitely not the same type of budgets here. French Liga, fifth at best, probably tied with Eredivisie and strongest leagues in Europe. England by far spends the most. You can argue if they're the strongest or not, but money generally does matter in sports and in sports betting. But I think at this point, Aston Villa play a great defensive game. Lille have been not really expected to score much. I think Lille will be doing a lot to defend to try to not lose in the first leg, which is not great for their case, but I think is better for under, honestly. So under 2.25 looks very interesting to me in this matchup. And I do like the home underdog as long as we have a plus quarter of a goal, because I think a result on the road for Aston Villa is something they're playing for late. They're not taking any risks, and I think that's great for under, and it's also great for the home underdog. Move to the last matchup in the early window. That's VfB Stuttgart. VfB Stuttgart, a half a goal favorite at home right now. All the juice is on Porto, the visitor from Portugal, of Portugal. All the juice on Porto right now. Total in this one's 2.5, juice more to the under. This feels like a pretty low total considering two very offensive teams. I guess if anything, I'd lean towards over. Longtime Patreon subscriber, patreon.com/realunderscorewarner if you want all my plays across all sports, including college basketball, the soccer stuff that's coming out as well, as you're listening to this episode on Europa League, and of course, big weekend coming up in all the domestic leagues in Europe. But longtime subscriber Joe Dollar loves when I play overs, so it doesn't really happen. But I am interested there, far more interested in over than I am in under with VfB Stuttgart, who are a goal-scoring team. Porto, same. You could say the same for them after they were really, really defensive in years past. And I got to say, to me, I don't know if there's much value here. I don't really like first legs for overs, especially because they're very conservative. Just the number is lower than I made it. It seems like the market's taking a stand and trying to say that this one's going to go under the total. Which probably favors, if anything, with Stuttgart playing on the road second leg, it probably favors FC Porto. They are minus 105 to advance. This is the closest we've talked about so far. Minus 125 on Stuttgart, which is saying something because they're playing the second leg on the road. If Porto move to an underdog, that's certainly a way I'll lean. Now to the late window. We'll start with Gink hosting Sport Club Freiburg, as I'm wearing, if you're watching Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, five-star reviews are huge. Comments are really important as well. I'm wearing a Sport Club Freiburg kit from years ago before they changed it and became very, very much more red than they were currently on this black and white Juventus looking kit, as my ex girlfriend used to say. Why did they copy Juventus with their colors? And I was like, I don't know if anyone from Freiburg would like to hear that, but I think they did play in Europa League a couple seasons ago. Anyway, Gink right now are of Belgium. Pick'ems at right total is excuse me, the spread is juice the same -110 both ways. No real indicator which way it will go. Gink are a totals in this one is 2.5, and it's juiced more to the under. Sport Club Freiburg have been really great in Europa League. I think we're undefeated almost until the last match day. Maybe got through the entire group stage without anything but a win or a draw. Great for them. Bundesliga in Germany has not been as good for them. They certainly take the German Bundesliga more seriously, but winning matches has been hard. They've been the draw kings, and that does certainly play into this matchup. Potentially, I'm not really a three-way player, but with the draw priced at +233 as the biggest underdog here, that does give me some interest there. So maybe I'll put that on the list for a rare draw shout. But ultimately, the total in this one's 2.5. It's just more to the under. I don't think we see a lot of high scoring matches really in any knockout rounds, but especially not in first legs, especially in Europa League, where I feel like the offense has kind of gone to die. I'm waiting for Freiburg to move to a quarter goal underdog. I don't really expect that to happen. Juice doesn't certainly indicate that. That's where I lean. In terms of the two advanced numbers, we have Gink as the home underdogs, I guess, to advance, technically, even though second leg will be played for them on the road. And that's probably why Freiburg are a favorite. Freiburg 2-1 favorites, 1-2. I guess is the best way to put that 2-1 on, where Genk are +153, 100 wins, 153. Freiburg, you need to lay 200 to win $100. Next, we'll go to Ferencváros of Budapest in Hungary, hosting Sporting Braga of Braga, Portugal. Currently, Ferencváros, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total in this one is 2.25, and it's juiced very heavily to over. Now, Sporting Braga, to me, have been very disappointing in this competition for a long time. Maybe this is the year things turn around. I'm not sure I see it. Ferencváros have not really been as conservative, defensive of a club as they've been in years past. Change managers and things have changed since then. But they have sold their best striker, Bruno Varga, who left in the January transfer window. And that's not great because where did the goals come from? They did advance this point, which give them credit for that. In the first, I guess, knockout round stage when Sporting Braga had a bye. That's why they're home for the second leg. But I am pretty curious in fading Braga at this point because I don't really trust them to score goals. I don't think they're very good. And I think that generally offers some value on the road team. In terms of the total, I guess I leaned under because every match I feel that way, except for that's Stuttgart one. The total is small, and it certainly says there's not a lot of goals expected in this round. But two advanced numbers. Ferencváros 212, +212, so 100 wins you 212. To bet the Sporting Braga side -285, a lot because of that second home leg, but also I think a lot because people seem to trust Portugal, which is certainly a good league out there, not at the top of most, but ultimately certainly much stronger than the Hungarians' top league. But at this point for me, Ferencváros is a home underdog. Very interesting. Under looks interesting to me as well. But I need to do some digging and see exactly how comfortable I feel with Sporting Braga's defense before I play that under. Two matches left to go. We'll start in England with Nottingham Forest hosting Midtjylland, a minnow from Denmark. Currently, Forest are favorites at home, big ones, -1 right now with more juice on the home team. So we could see us heading towards 1.25. Would love to have a road team who can lose by a single goal away from home and still cover the spread. Total in this one's 2.75, just a little bit more, 4 cents more to under. I would like to see this climb, but I got to say Nottingham Forest sacking Sean Dyche and bringing in Vitor Pereira is not what I would have done, but you could argue that's kind of the same sort of story with most of the moves of the Olympiacos owner, who also has Nottingham Forest. Good thing they're in different competitions, or else that would be a big problem, or they wouldn't really be allowed, and they get pushed to other ones, as happened to Crystal Palace this year. But Michelin, I mean, they have the bye. They're a big underdog to advance, +215 with a home leg. That looks very interesting to me. I think the Nottingham Forest side -290 is too. I mean, they've got a much bigger budget. They've been far stronger in, I guess, ever since they sacked multiple managers. I thought Sean Dyche was doing a good job. Confused, right? Those type of things were happening. But now Nottingham Forest went from a really great defensive team to now being, and certainly Sean Dyche, the knock on him, he doesn't score enough goals. But I got to say, I think I'd rather protect my defense, especially in Europa League, bouncing Premier League when you've been at the bottom of the table in England for the entire season. But I guess that's just me. And Michelin as 1 goal underdogs looks very interesting to me. I think I like that a lot more than the total, 2 3/4. And I do have some interest in sprinkling some money on plus 215 to advance number. Because if Michelin gets a good result in that first leg, you're going to have a really, really good price to potentially buy back in Nottingham Forest if you don't feel it anymore, or just let it ride because we aren't gardeners. Last but not least, Celta Vigo. They are hosting Lyon, who, Lyon were kind of surprising, but we're out of nowhere one of the best clubs in this competition this whole time. Current price, Celta Vigo are a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Lyon. That seems really expensive to me, but also a little bit of a surprise. Total is 2.5 in this one, juiced all the way to under. Lyon are minus 125 to advance as the second leg at home. Celta Vigo minus 105. So we've got two pretty competitive matches expected: Stuttgart and Porto, Celta Vigo and Lyon. The difference here is that Stuttgart are favored at home in the first leg to advance, are favored minus 125 to the minus 105 on the road. In Lyon, this one is flipped where Lyon are favored because a lot, I think, of that second leg at home. Now, Celta Vigo of Spain's La Liga, certainly viewed stronger than Olympique Lyonnais of France, though at this point, I feel like France and Lyon have certainly accomplished way more in European competition. Celta Vigo usually are fighting relegation, but they've got a great manager who's done a great job in putting in the young players and getting a lot out of them. Problem is, I don't really know that I trust Celta Vigo score a lot. That probably points me towards under 2.5 in this matchup. But I do like Lyon because I think they're one of the stronger teams and are still a little bit under the radar because they had some financial issues that almost got them automatically relegated to Ligue 2 in France. But at this point, Lyon is a favorite to advance. I don't really play any futures that don't have a plus sign next to them. So I'll wait to see where this number goes. Certainly would be more interested in more money coming in at Celta Vigo, getting more interested in Lyon, that is. But the big question is, can Lyon go in and score goals? I think they can. Celta Vigo probably don't want to play a high-scoring match, I don't think, though they are certainly needing to get as much as they can in this first leg to try to win and put them in the best position to advance in the second. I think Lyon is a half-goal underdog. It's too big, though, so I'm interested there. And we'll see what happens and where this number moves if we get a little bit more deeper. And that's where Patreon subscriptions are really great things because I try to post my write-ups as soon as possible and I get through them, thinking about the matchups, looking at lineups and seeing what I expect to be out there. Patreon.com/real_Warner, best spot for all that stuff, and it updates throughout the day. If you download the application, turn on notifications, you should get a buzz every time I lock something in. They've done some recent changes in their platform, but I found a way to continue to notify people, and I'm hoping that still works. And hit me up, patreon.com/real_Warner if you want to check that out. So that does it for this episode of the Europa League. But we will be giving out an ultimate best bet because I got to make sure that I don't think I nominated anybody from the early slate and got to do that for the late one as well. Biggest interest in the early slate: Bologna, Roma under 2 goals. We'll be certainly waiting for that one to climb to 2.25. I do think it will get there because everyone likes to bet overs in this world. But until it does, I'm probably on the sideline waiting to see what happens. Now, for the late slate, let's go Michelin, 1 goal underdogs on the road at Nottingham Forest. Yes, they're minnows, but there's a huge opportunity to push with a single goal loss away from home. I love that idea. We'll see what ends up happening there and where it moves because 1.25 looks a lot better. But it's time for the ultimate best bet. Before we get out there, make sure you want to mention we have a Need for Seeds college basketball podcast that went through all of the big time college basketball conference tournaments. Certainly have Patreon stuff coming out every night and every morning and all throughout the day in college basketball. And of course, the soccer stuff coming through. We are expecting to go live after the selection show Sunday night. Biggie Spen, myself, maybe Abrix Bets as well, though he missed our last episode, unfortunately. And of course, everything coming out on Twitter at @the_Real_G_Warner and all other social media platforms at that same handle. So for the ultimate best bet from the morning, I gave you the option to play under 2 and potentially 2.25 with Bologna and Roma. But in the late window, I think that's where I'm going to put my best bet, and that's Michelin. I'll take them as 1 goal underdogs on the road at Nottingham Forest.